This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/audio.
Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Are you ready to change your life but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount.
Hey, you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
All right. Okay. Welcome to the Opperman Report. Every Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and then rebroadcast on Monday nights, 6 p.m. on awakeradio.us. Oh, by the way, today's show is dedicated to Mackay, who's having his 8th birthday this week. He's going to be 8 years old. And I'm going to get your address, Mackay, and I'm going to be sending you an autographed copy of my book, how to succeed as a private investigator. Maybe you can ruin your whole future by going into the PI business, okay? And make your whole life miserable for the rest of your life. Tonight we got a great big guest, one of our most popular guests that we've ever had, Dave Mcgowan, who's the author of Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. Okay, and he's also the author of some books, Programmed to Kill, Understanding the F-Word, Derailing Democracy. He has a website called Center for an Informed America, which you could find at davesweb.cnhost.com. Before we get to Dave, I just want to, if you came on the show tonight, if you tuned in and you were looking for Russ Kyle, who runs the San Francisco Crime Tour, stay tuned in. Stay tuned in until next week, okay? Because I screwed up the booking, okay? It was all my fault. I totally screwed up. And we're going to have Russ Kyle next week, and he's going to be talking about Patty Hearst and the Zebra Killers and the Zodiac Killer and O.J. Simpson and even the People's Temple, you know, the Jim Jones cult, and all interesting stuff that goes on, crime-related stuff that goes on in San Francisco, where he does this crime tour via his limousine. Okay. And tomorrow, okay, if you live in Vegas, tomorrow you can catch me. I'm going to be hosting and moderating the Nevada governor debate at Ricardo's Restaurant, 4930 West Flamingo Road, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89103. It's going to be from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So you can come down and you can meet me and heckle the governor candidates and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Any other announcements? I think that's about it. Mr. Dave Mcgowan, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I got to say, your show next week sounds like a fascinating one. I've touched upon several of those cases in my own work, and yeah, that sounds like a good one you got coming up.
Yeah, he's right up your alley. Yeah. Hey, what kind of questions would you have for him?
Oh God, I have no idea off the top of my head. I don't know. My brain's been so focused on Laurel Canyon lately that I can't really think of much else. So,
yeah, I bet it has. Yeah, because I know that since the last time we talked, your book is finally published, and I know it's like a bestseller. No?
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't even know how that's determined, to be honest with you. I'm curious to know how. I mean, I don't even know how they like track sales of a book. You know, do you know how that's even?
Oh, sounds like you went and got a publisher, huh? Yeah, they put you in the dark. Yeah, there's ways to track, sure. But hey, listen, if I'm saying it's a bestseller, people trust me. Okay, I'm a credible guy, so it's a bestseller, all right? But listen, tell us all about the book, not about the book itself.
It's certainly off to a good start. It's been very, very well received, well reviewed, you know, by both the general public, you know, by way of Amazon and a couple of online reviews. And so far, I got to say, it's been overwhelmingly positive. All the feedback I've gotten, the word of mouth, the posted reviews and stuff, it's all very, very encouraging. Whether it's a bestseller or not, that's a whole nother issue entirely. But it's been it's been very, very flattering and very gratifying to see that it's seems to be off to a really, really good start. And because I mean, I poured my heart and soul into this thing for, you know, like 7 years. So yeah, it's good to see that it seems to be doing well so far.
Yeah, well, you're an incredibly popular guy, you know, and I saw on your Facebook, on the Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon Facebook page, that you were going to autograph the books and send them out, right?
I am. Yeah, I've been doing direct sales. And, so that's really the only way that I have as of now to, monitor, you know, how well it's selling in general. And I know that I've been doing pretty well, with the direct sales. So, you know, I assume that translates to relatively good overall sales, but, you know, only my publisher knows that, and they're not really, filling me in right now. So I don't know. I have no idea, but yeah, the direct sales have been going good. And, I've just been astonished by the reach that this book seems to have. You know, I mean, I knew that it had kind of taken on a life of its own on the internet and had really, seemed to resonate with a lot of people, but it wasn't until I, you know, decided to put it out in book form that it really and people started flocking onto Facebook and, demanding to know when the book was going to be released. And, I put up this Facebook page for it, and it had like, I don't know, 1,200 followers or something like that before the book was even released. All these people are liking, and I'm thinking, how can you like a book that you haven't even read yet? But, the reality is a lot of people are pretty familiar with the material from when it was online. So it's not, like a complete mystery what the book's about. But, it's been a very, very interesting experience to see, how well received it's been. And I mean, I've shipped out books, across the English speaking world, to probably most of the 50 states, as well as England and Ireland and Canada and Australia and New Zealand, and even places like Brazil and Germany and Spain, France, Italy, Sweden, Norway. Probably a couple others I'm leaving out. Quite a few in Norway, actually. I seem to have quite a few fans in Norway for some reason. But it's been kind of eye opening to see just what kind of reach this thing developed when it was being developed as an online series. And it's
a fascinating topic, and I think it resonates true with a lot of people. I think when you take away the veil and you start describing your theory about what was going on behind all the hippies and the music and the Weather Underground, all that kind of stuff, it rings true. I'll tell you this though, I have a link to your books up on my blog, The Opperman Report. If you just put in Google The Opperman Report, the first thing that comes up is The Opperman Report blog. And there's links to your books on there. So if people buy them from there, I can let you know how many we sell from there. Okay. If you're a publisher, I'll tell you, man. I'll help you out with that. So tell us about it. Give us a broad, people know you. People who were tuned in, 99% know you. Okay. And I can tell you right away because, I messed up and I started promoting you at the last minute today, and we got double traffic to the blog today than we normally do. So people definitely love you. Now I said, yeah, go ahead.
I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around that concept. I mean, all the radio shows that I've been doing lately, the hosts have just these glowing introductions and, just heaping on the praise and telling me how much their listeners love me and all that. And then, it's a little hard to wrap my head around at this point, really.
If you really want to laugh, the last time you did my show, Rick and Annie from that radio show, Shake and Wake, you did their show too.
Oh, they bugged me for weeks to come on and do their show.
Well, yeah, I know. I love it, man. But after I did my interview with you, Rick called me up that night crying. Okay. He called me up. He loved it so much. He was crying, man. Okay. So yeah, but then you did their show like about a week later, man. But give us an overall,
I just got offered a radio show a couple days ago that I'm going to do on Tuesday from a guy who does a radio show out of Hawaii, out of Maui. And he was tipped off to the book by his pharmacist. Some pharmacist in Maui is apparently promoting my book to his customers. And so it seems to have just a really, really good, very positive word of mouth out there. And, which is good because that's, it's not the kind of book that the mainstream media is going to give any attention to at all. So it's, it's largely dependent on, independent means of promoting it, like through, these kind of radio shows and through word of mouth. So, so that's all very encouraging. But anyway, what was your question?
Tell us about the book. What is the book about? The weird scenes inside the canyon.
The book is about the dark side of the Laurel Canyon music and counterculture scene. The mainstream version of the story is, very sugar-coated and all peace, love, and understanding. And, the mainstream books that have, and there are a few of them that have come out in the last 10, 15 years. And they paint this very idyllic sort of portrait of the canyon as this perfect, hippie communal living environment where, everyone had like an open door policy, and there were all these people who were destined to become these huge musical superstars, just, living and jamming and partying together, and, just this really kind of magical place where you could just walk down the street and hear all of these, these people who are now like iconic household names, rehearsing and writing songs and whatnot, in their front yards and just this amazing array of bands that poured out of the canyon in this fairly brief amount of time, from like the mid 60s to like the mid 70s. And so it's been painted in these very glowing colors of this, this ideal of, sort of the 60s ideal of the peace, love, and understanding and environment, and that produced all of this music that's, still largely, part of a soundtrack to a lot of our lives. And so that's sort of the mainstream version, and the number of bands that came out of there was just mind-boggling. Beginning with like the Byrds and Buffalo Springfield and the Doors and Arthur Lee and Love and Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention and the Mamas and the Papas and the Turtles and Three Dog Night and the Beach Boys and a whole bunch of other ones that I'm sure I'm leaving out, continuing through like Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Young, the Eagles, and all these singer-songwriters like Jackson Browne and James Taylor and Carole King and Joni Mitchell and Judy Still and Judy Collins and just on and on and on, just an amazing array of talent that poured out of the canyon in a very short amount of time. And like I say, that's all been, painted in these very, 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 very glowing, tones. And my book is a, kind of a walk on the dark side of Laurel Canyon, at all the unexplored aspects of the canyon, like the fact that so many of these people who were destined to become these musical superstars were sons and daughters of the military intelligence establishment, and the fact that there was a covert military facility right there in Laurel Canyon that they were all gathered around, and all of these other sort of aspiring, up and coming political types that just didn't seem to really fit in, but yet they were in there right alongside all of the rock stars. And then just all of the violence, all of the violent death, and just the sheer number of bodies that seem to pile up in and around the canyon to, either murders or very, very suspicious deaths that occurred either in the canyon or to people directly connected to the canyon. So there's all these very, very dark threads that don't at all fit the whole peace, love, and understanding vibe that you get from other accounts of the Laurel Canyon scene. So my book attempts to correct the record, so to speak, by looking at all of these, all of these other phenomenon that were going on there, and in doing so, asking the question ultimately, was this whole scene kind of manufactured really from the beginning? Because it wasn't just the music that flowed out of Laurel Canyon; it was really the birthplace of the whole 60s youth counterculture, the whole hippie flower child movement that a couple of years later became more closely associated with Haight-Ashbury up north, but which started out here. So not only did all this music that sort of shaped a generation come out of there, but the whole sort of hippie culture, the hairstyles and the clothing and just the attitudes and that whole thing really grew out of this one little isolated geographic area that happened to contain a covert military intelligence facility, and a lot of the people who were, at the forefront of this musical revolution just happened to be the sons and daughters of a lot of military and military intelligence personnel.
Okay, so then what is your conclusion? That's just too much of a coincidence to be possible. And now a word from our sponsors. Emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online, email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat, locate his hidden assets, locate his hidden bank accounts, find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com, digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages, create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com, 800-572-9762.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes, the abduction, sexual trafficking, and cannibalization of our children. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down, shining a light on the root cause of these crimes and introducing a spiritual solution. Justice will be served. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, so then what is your conclusion? That's just too much of a coincidence to be possible.
Yeah, basically, there's just too many coincidences. I mean, it's just, the fact that so many of these people, came from that background. And, Jim Morrison in particular, whose father just not only was a Navy admiral, but just happened to be the very Navy admiral who was in charge of the fleet of ships that were involved in the Tonkin Gulf incident that led directly to the Tonkin Gulf resolution and our full-scale immersion into the Vietnam quagmire. And he was the guy that was in command of those ships. I mean, he was the central figure in orchestrating that whole incident that so greatly escalated the Vietnam War. And almost simultaneously, here's the son emerging on the Laurel Canyon scene as this fully formed icon of the anti-war movement. And and there's just so many of these little curious things like that, And
of course, Morrison lied about his parents. He always said they were dead.
Yeah, he told everybody that they were dead, and which was an immediate conversation killer and which really shielded, his father from being exposed for who he really was. For 45 years, in fact, it shielded him. And a lot of people have suggested, well, he said that because he felt that his father was dead to him. You know, they were estranged. He had rejected his values. I said, well, then why didn't he say, my father is dead to me? He didn't say that. If he had said, my father was dead, if my father is dead to me, then that would have signaled an estrangement and would have, of course, also, you know, pretty much invited follow-up questions on, you know, why he was estranged from his dad. But he never said that. He said, my dad is dead, and he was taken at his word, and that was it. So there was never any, you know, and so he successfully avoided throughout his life, ever revealing, you know, that his father was in fact the guy that had played a key role in orchestrating this whole thing, and that all the people around him were protesting against, you know. So that was all very strange, you know. And then there's the fact that in addition to, you know, these people being from the same sort of background, some of them actually knew each other, had prior connections through various ways, like. Jim Morrison actually went to kindergarten with the woman, Gail Sloatman, who would become Frank Zappa's wife. She was the daughter of a career, like naval intelligence officers, came from a career naval family. And they actually knew each other, went to the same naval kindergarten and knew each other through, you know, naval officers circles. Like 20 years before they surfaced in Laurel Canyon, you know, and 20 years later, they show up in Laurel Canyon almost simultaneously. He as this, you know, like I said, fully formed rock god, and she as the wife of another fully formed rock god. And they're both living in Laurel Canyon, you know, like blocks away from each other. And, you know, you got to wonder what are the odds of that these two people that just happen to know each other 20 years previously and are both from the same background, and they both just pop up out of nowhere in Laurel Canyon as, you know, key parts of the scene. And then, you know, Frank Zappa's manager, who was this shadowy character by the name of Herb Cohen, was actually a cousin of Howard Kalin, who was the guy who fronted the Turtles, the lead singer for the Turtles. And he also lived right down the street in Laurel Canyon. So you have these three guys who were all like fronting these rock bands, who not only all kind of came from the same background, but had like connections among them from well before they ever arrived in Laurel Canyon. So, you
remember the last time you were on my show, I was telling you that I was having on Steve Hodel the next week.
Yeah, that's right.
you blew me away because you told me about how his sister was connected up with who was it? One of the Mamas and the Papas kids?
Michelle Phillips.
Yeah.
His sister, Tamar Hodel. Michelle Phillips is long credited with being, she lost her own mother when she was very young and, was being raised by a single father. And, this older gal, Tamar Hodel, kind of stepped in and took her under her wing. And, from high school, I think she was in her fairly early teens, and, this gal took her under her wing, and she's looked at her as sort of her surrogate mother ever since. Yeah. And just happens to be, Steve Hodel's sister. Yeah.
Steve Hodel arrested the dating game killer.
Yeah. And Steve Hodel, he investigated it. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And, she's the one who accused, Hodel. And I don't know, did he ever, when he was on your show, did he go, what did he talk, was he able to talk about the Black Dahlia or?
Oh yeah. We talked about everything. He was very open. We went on for 2 hours, you know. And
did he talk about his sister's trial when she accused her father back in
Yeah, we talked about all of that. And it's really interesting, you know, that out of the whole family, the father was estranged. There's like 11 brothers and sisters. And at the father's death, he was estranged from everyone except for the son, who was a homicide detective.
Oh, really? He had reconciled with Steve, with the dad by the time he died?
Oh, yeah. You got to listen to the interview, man. He was kind of like his dad's buddy. He was his dad was his hero. He was really impressed with his dad. Even till today, he comes off kind of like he's impressed with his dad.
Tamara Odell had reconciled with him at times and was estranged at times, but yeah, when she was just a young gal, she I mean, a very sensational trial for the times. You know, she accused not only her father, but various other very prominent people in her father's circle of friends, like film director John Huston and a couple other people of basically holding these you know, parties and passing her around like a plaything, you know, and it was very sensational allegations for the time, you know, and yeah, so
and there were witnesses. And also, too, there were witnesses who confessed, who made deals. But also, too, is that there was a swapping going on back and forth between John Huston and his wife, and Steve Odell's father and his wife. You know, they exchanged partners, you know, in marriage.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. John Huston broke up with his wife. Steve Odell's father hooked up with his wife. They got married and vice versa. And then I think they switched back again. It's a really interesting story, man.
You know, there were all kinds of allegations about what was going on at these, you know, big parties with very prominent people and, you know, very, very, very sordid allegations of, you know, like ritualized, behavior things going on and whatnot. And
yeah, you know what? Yeah. We didn't get into that last time. I want to get into the Program to Kill book with you this time because we covered all this stuff pretty good last time. I'm gonna still we're gonna still talk about it to get the book out there. But what do you know about I think we talked about it. I touched on it a bit. The Process Church. We're getting asked questions from the chat room about connections to the Process Church out there in Laurel Canyon. What do you got?
There definitely appeared to have been some. The Process arrived in L.A. around, I don't know, like 1968, I think, and they were pretty prominent for a while and very easily recognizable because they always wore like long capes and they walked these big Alsatian dogs or whatever they were around, and they attracted a lot of attention. And of course, you know, everybody has tried to distance themselves from them, but you know, there have been published reports that they had connections to John Phillips, to Cass Elliot, to various other people on the scene at the time. Charlie Manson, of course,
Beach Boys.
Who was you know, living with Dennis Wilson and very close and being recorded at Brian Wilson's studio and whatnot. And it was very, very much more integrated into the scene than anyone wants to admit.
Beatles.
What's that?
The Beatles connection to the Process Church?
The Beatles, I don't know. Probably, you know, it's quite possible. The Rolling Stones, definitely.
Well, you know, Paul McCartney's girlfriend, that girl, Jennifer, the one who did the Rabbit Hole, Alice in Wonderland, the one who was the actress in Alice in Wonderland, her brother was a big shot in the Process Church. And then later on, he became the manager of, boy, my memory's going to be shot tonight. But anyway, let's just move on. But there's a lot of, you're agreeing that there was a lot of connections to the Process Church out there during all this. Do you know about anything about any contact between the Process Church when May Pang and John Lennon went out there for that period of time?
Not specifically, no.
No. Because they mentioned staying at Terry Melcher's house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm gonna have May Pang coming on at the end. Yeah,
that was a very popular house. A lot of people went there. I mean, a lot of the Laurel Canyon people were in and out of that house, and you know, Manson reportedly had been there at least a couple of times, and various of his underlings had been there.
Okay, hey, we got a break. We got a break coming up. Sorry, I didn't give you a little notice there. But we're on with Dave Mcgowan, one of my most popular guests ever. He's the author of Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, Understanding the F-Word, Derailing Democracy, and Program to Kill. We'll be right back after this. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. Every Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Hey, is everybody getting that audio problem? Or just me?
I'm okay.
You're good? Okay. I think I'm good now. Okay. And we're back with Dave Mcgowan, one of my favorite guests, author of Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon and also Program to Kill. So, Dave, tell us about Program to Kill, and then what your conclusions are about all your research in that area.
It's basically an alternative look at the serial killer phenomenon that really kind of kicked into high gear in like the early 70s, when an era when we had all of these very high profile kind of name brand serial killers, which we don't really have anymore, you know? Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
You know, it used to be that, you know, we had these larger than life people like, you know, John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, the Night Stalker, the Hillside Stranglers, you know, all
Son of Sam.
Son of Sam. Yeah. I mean, you know, every city seemed to have one there through the 70s and into the 80s. And, we don't really have that anymore. I mean, LA used to have them. It seemed like there was constantly, you know, the Sunset Strip killers, the freeway killers, the Hillside Stranglers, the Night Stalker, you know, I mean, it was just like one after another, these very high profile people that got a lot of press and you know, they got these names, you know, they got a media friendly name and all that. And we don't have that anymore. I mean, and nobody really questions that, which is just amazing to me. You know, we went through this period where we just seem to have serial killers on the evening news on a regular basis. And, at some point that kind of died out. And now what we have instead is school and workplace shooters and quote unquote domestic terrorists, you know, like the Sarnoff brothers or whatever. And, you know, who have largely replaced serial killers and largely fulfill the same function, you know, that serial killers once did. So, you know, what my theory basically boils down to is that, you know, it was largely a government project and was essentially the Phoenix program brought home, because what we had here, you know, were crime scenes that were very, very similar to what had been done over in Vietnam, for the purpose of terrorizing the people into, you know, accepting, submitting to our will, basically. And it was a psychological warfare program where people weren't just assassinated; they were assassinated in particularly gruesome and horrific ways, and put on display as sort of warnings to others. And you know, it was a psychological warfare tactic to traumatize the population. And it was run by William Colby, who right after that came home and was appointed director of the CIA. And so, and that just happened to coincide with this, you know, sudden rise in all of these big name serial killers, you know, Charlie Manson and the Zodiac and, you know, all the names that we just went through. And, so I believe it was a homecoming. Basically, it was a way of bringing home a tactic that had, you know, apparently had worked over there, and it was deployed over here, and quite successfully until, you know, until this new breed of terrorists or whatever you want to call them came along, and now we have them, you know, basically serving the same function, which is to terrorize the American people into voluntarily giving up, you know, their rights, their civil liberties, their privacy rights, their due process rights, and, you know, all of the stuff that we see happening.
Now, was that going on in the general public back in those days? People were giving up their civil rights in order to catch these serial killers?
No, I think this is a much more effective tool that we have, but I think it was a very effective psychological warfare tool, you know, because it just bred distrust in general, you know, among people, because, you know, the way we presented was that these were, you know, they could be anyone, you know, they could be a coworker, they could be a friend, they could be a family member. I mean, you know, there could be a serial killer lurking anywhere, and you know, create a lot of fear and a lot of willingness to accept more invasive policing, you know, and more militarized policing. And, you know, really sort of the whole process, which we've seen greatly escalated lately.
It also seems like a lot of these serial killers back in those days had the capability of doing really impressive home invasions. Yeah. You know, like where you would think, you know, you would really need a real professional. Like, you see how the cops invade a home, you know, they have a hard time doing it. So it would be really impressive coming in and taking over a home and tying people up and then slaughtering and.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and there were other functions that served as well. I mean, you know, as we talked about with the BTK, and you know, that wasn't unique to the BTK killings. That you know, some of the killings seemed to be targeted assassinations,
right?
And there are other cases where that, you know, I mean, Henry Lee Lucas has said on the record that was his job, was that he was an assassin, and that he also killed for fun, and that you know, he made the you know, assigned jobs look just like the other ones, so that it just looked like another random, you know, so it was a very effective means of hiding the motive of the killings that weren't random, that were in fact targeted assassinations, but they could be lumped in with other killings and made to look like it was just, you know, completely random. So that was another function that was very effectively served by that. And in some cases, it seems to have been used as a cover for mind control operations as well. So it served quite a few functions. But, you know, like I say, it's pretty astonishing that we went through this era where, you know, you couldn't turn on your TV without some big name serial killer prowling around somewhere in the country, you know, whether it was John Wayne Gacy in Chicago or you know, Jeffrey Dahmer in where was it, Milwaukee, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And now, I mean, when BTK may have been like the last real, like, big name. Can you think of any serial killer that we've had since then?
Yeah, the Rifkin, the one that was on the Seinfeld show, Joel Rifkin. And the only reason I can remember his name because he was on the show. They made a big joke about it.
Well, that, you know, it's funny because there are actually more serial killers on TV now.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, you can't turn on the TV without seeing, you know, a Hannibal, or, you know, The Following, or Dexter, or, you know, I mean, we're now being presented with the serial killer as anti-hero, you know, which is just bizarre, especially in the case of Dexter, but even to a lesser degree in like The Following and Hannibal. And I mean, there's just a whole slew of these shows now where the serial killer is kind of this, you know, criminal mastermind matching wits with the, right. You know, the detective, you know, the hairy detective, you know, the Silence of the Lambs model. And, yeah, we're being presented more and more of these serial killers on TV as sort of the anti-hero of the show. And, there's actually more serial killers in our entertainment than you read about actually out in the world now. And weirdly, nobody questions that. I mean, why does nobody question why we had through the 70s and 80s, we just had this whole slew of serial killers, and now you never hear about one. And coupled with that, at the same time, we have the rise of these school and workplace, you know, these seemingly random, you know, multi-victim, you know, attacks that have now replaced it. I mean, and nobody questions that. It's like, why did the serial killers go away? And now we have all these people, and why does nobody question, you know, why that's now a part of our daily environment when it wasn't, you know, 20 years ago? And yeah, it's just, It amazes me how people...
Yeah, people don't question anything. People don't question.
I know. Why do they not question?
They don't. That's what I always say. It's, listen, just think logically. It has to make sense. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs, a lot of content there at OppermanReport.com. And it's the memberships that support the Opperman Report and allow us to play these shows for free on Friday nights and Saturday nights on all the stations you hear us on. You can also make a donation at OppermanReport.com. If you want to support the show and become a member, I can give you a discount. I'll give you 13 months for $65 if you email me directly at OppermanReport@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at OppermanReport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.